Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
What's good? Combat Conversation fam, back again on another Sunday. What's happening, man? I missed y'all. My man Lee, what's good, baby? What's on today's agenda? A couple things we gonna rap about, man. There were two. Hey, Lee, I didn't forget about you. I got to get with you. Expect a message from me sometime today. But yeah, a couple things we need to discuss, man. There were two awesome boxing cards. Nothing really happening in the world of pro MMA this past weekend, but two awesome boxing cards that took place last night. So we will discuss that. There was an event last night on Showtime Boxing. Mikey Garcia. Oh, almost forgot. For those of you who are watching, we are airing our first live show on YouTube today, this morning. We're on live on YouTube right now. So not only do we have the blog podcast, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, and we are now live on YouTube as well. So we are expanding, trying to get more listeners, more watchers. What's good? But yeah, it's all under the same name too. If you want to chime in on the YouTube live, it is under Combat Conversation. So just type that in on the YouTube channel, and you can watch us live on YouTube as well. Nevertheless, last night Showtime had an awesome, the boxing card was real nice, man. Mikey Garcia, real dominant performance by him last night, beating Sergey Lipinets for the IBF World Super Lightweight title, and Garcia made a little bit of history last night with that win. So we'll talk about that, and also, man, that fight that was on ESPN Boxing last night. Scott Quigg against Oscar Valdez. You talk about a war. They put their bid in last night for Boxing Fight of the Year. That fight was awesome. For those of you who did not see it. My man Sean, what's good, baby? How you be? But yeah, that was dope last night. So we'll talk about that. We will talk about the pending rematch on Cinco de Mayo for May the 5th for Canelo and Triple G. It appears that Canelo, doing a testing he had regarding, I guess, his training for the rematch, tested positive for a banned substance, the banned substance clenbuterol. But it appears that he also could have a legitimate excuse for why his sample was tainted a little bit. He blamed it on the meat down there in Mexico, but after, I guess, the testers did quite a bit of research, that seems to be an ongoing thing down there in the land of Mexico. So we'll talk about that in a minute as well. GSP made a brief announcement regarding his return. So we will talk about that as well, and the possible bout between him and maybe, which I don't think is going to happen, Conor McGregor. We'll discuss that as well. Mirko Cro Cop, since we're talking about being banned substances, Mirko Cro Cop has signed with the Bellator Fight Promotions Company, the MMA, Bellator MMA. So my question to the fans here is, should Mirko Cro Cop be fighting at all? With his history and background regarding the PED abuse. So we'll discuss that. And we will also be talking about two upcoming fight cards that we will have taking place next Saturday. One is in UFC Fight Night. There's a couple of good fights on that card. There's two I want to take a look at in particular. And we will also have a championship bout on ESPN again this coming Saturday on the 17th as well. So we will be discussing that also. But first, I want to talk about the awesomeness in the boxing ring. That is Mikey Garcia. And he looked really good last night. He made a little history with the win he acquired last night going up against Sergey Lipinets. And just don't let my man lead. Just don't let Mirko kick you. Then you, yeah, definitely. You know what's funny? One of my old senseis, man, and even him and a guy, one of my best friends is a black belt. And Lee, I'm referring to your comment, Lee. One of my best friends is a black belt in Taekwondo. I've been friends with this guy for roughly 30 years. You know, I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. I'm not a big on striking. That's just my thing. I do Aikido as well. But one of the things that he used to always say to me when I'm referring, you made me think about this when you talked about Krokop's kicks. If a man has the ability to control his legs like that when he's whipping those kicks back and forth with that type of accuracy, you probably don't want to let him get those kicks off. His feet are like hands. And when you made that comment about Mirko, it made me think about that. Mirko's feet are like hands, dude. But yeah, we'll talk about him and his PED situation in a little bit. But apparently it's not a big deal because Bellator decided to sign him. Nevertheless, he'll be fighting. But before we get into that, let's talk about Mikey Garcia and his awesomeness last night, man. He looked really good in that win versus Sergey last night. Made a little history last night with this win. This is his 4th world title. Again, this is Mikey Garcia's 4th world title in his 4th division. So he made history with that win last night because now he gets mentioned in the likes of the only fighters who has ever been able to do that, like Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez. So that's some pretty good company that Mikey Garcia is in right now. This dude, I mean, it's only a few, well, let me not say only. There are a few fighters that stand out right now as far as just natural, raw boxing ability. And Garcia is one of those guys. And I'm saying that because of how accurate and technical and precise he is in the ring. If you've ever watched and paid attention to a Mikey Garcia fight, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm trying to see if I want to compare that along the lines of maybe a Lomachenko. I don't know. But yeah, this Mikey is like good, like really good. He is. He's the truth. And he showed that last night, man. The kid is only 30, and for all practical purposes, for a guy that's in his prime, that's taking really good care of himself and is awesome like that in the ring, 30 ain't old. He's still a young man. Just thinking about him, he goes to 39-0. He remains undefeated. He's the last night's win took him to 39-0, and he went into the fight favorite for obvious reasons. But just for him to be able to beat a guy who was considered the bigger dude, bigger, I'm referring to Sergey Lipinets. Obviously, the more, you know, I say looks a little larger, maybe probably more powerful. And he caught Garcia not with any like dangerous shots, but you can see he fought Garcia to the point where it showed Garcia's ability to be able to take Sergey's power, and it was quite impressive. I gotta be honest, it was impressive. I need to adjust the light. We're gonna get some more light on this YouTube feed, man. When we're on YouTube for the first time today too, y'all, we're streaming live on YouTube now, for those of you who don't know. And I wish I had if I'd have known that, I would have. We'll adjust the lighting for the next YouTube view with a live stream next Sunday, because I'm looking at it now. But yeah, you can still see clear. Nevertheless, back to Garcia. He looked awesome last night. With this, he won the IBF 140-pound... excuse me, drop my note. He won the IBF 140-pound World Super Lightweight title with that win last night. And he did it against Lipinets, who is a former kickboxing champ. Which just is a credit to his opponent, Lipinets' striking ability. But yeah, he beat Lipinets last night by unanimous decision. Clearly a dominant performance. I clearly agree with the decision. You had 2 judges that scored the bout 117 to 110. You had the 3rd judge, the additional judge, who scored about 116, 111. all three judges scoring the bout in favor of Garcia because, obviously, due to the dominant performance by Mikey. It was awesome, man. That was his second straight win against a top-tier 140-pound opponent, man. I remember that last fight or the previous fight was him against Broner, Adrian Broner, and he beat Broner convincingly as well. I'm not sure what's going on with Adrian Broner right now, but looking at Garcia's performance against Broner and against the powerful guy like Lipinets last night, you got to start talking about this guy as far as not all-time GOATs, but GOATs right now. Hopefully on this pace, if he keeps this up, I'm pretty sure he will make that list as far as the categories of the all-time GOATs. Hasn't been doing it long enough. I'm sure we would like to see more of him to keep him going towards that category as far as all-time. But for right now, you got to put him in that category. Not to take anything away from Lipinets' performance, from Sergey's performance, even though Mikey was as dominant as he was last night, it wasn't for a lack of effort on behalf of Sergey, because he kept fighting. He kept the fight going until the last bell sounded, man. But it just wasn't enough to do any damage to Mikey. It just wasn't. Even in the last fight where you saw where Sergey tried to turn up the volume a little bit, and Mikey was like, I'm here for it. He fought back. It also showed the type of heart that Sergey had going against a guy who he knew, like Mikey, who he knew was as favored as he was. Rightfully so. You saw that in the performance last night with how dominant it was. But for him to be, he did. It wasn't for a lack of effort on Sergey's behalf. It wasn't because Sergey didn't come to fight. He wasn't bringing it. It's just that Mikey Garcia was actually just that dominant of last night. But he tried, man. I remember that in the 11th round, man, when I thought that he had really hurt. And, you take in consideration with Sergey being the bigger guy. I want to say maybe around the 2-minute mark in the 11th round where he snapped. He snapped Mikey back a little bit with an uppercut. Just again showing how powerful Sergey is. Didn't really hurt him. Kind of kept Mikey honest with Mikey trying to come inside. I don't think it really gave Mikey any significant damage. You could definitely tell Mikey felt that uppercut. But again, I spoke a few minutes ago about that fight last night was kind of a display with Mikey showing his ability to absorb those type of power shots. It did. He looked good, man, doing it. Sergey had a little bit of success in that 8th round too. Not like he did in that 11th round when he had that uppercut, and I guess people were looking to see if Mikey was hurt, which he wasn't. But even with the brief amount of success that you would have seen Sergey had versus Mikey Garcia last night, I agree with the judges' decision. I agree with the scorecards. Again, 2 judges had it 117, 110. Another judge had it 116, 111. Yeah, clearly dominant performance by Mikey. I'm just trying to figure out now. I always like to guess, not really, I won't say guess, but me figuring out who, at least in that division, with him sitting on the throne, at least at this point, who his next opponent would be. I saw no indication with Lipinets trying to get a rematch with Mikey last night. I don't know, but the fight was dope. It was a dope fight last night. Good fight on behalf of both fighters, but even more so Mikey Garcia with the dominant performance as was expected. Him going into the fight heavily favored. I have to be honest in saying that even with as dominant as Mikey was last night, he was not as dominant as a lot of people thought he would be going into the fight last night. A lot of people figured that Mikey was going to win by KO. And a lot of that has to do with Mikey's history, his resume, his track record, and how he's been mowing dudes down up until this point. And I'm not sure with people saying that they were considering the size differential, although not significant, definitely noticeable between Mikey Garcia and Sergey Lipinets last night. But again, dominant performance by Mikey. Yeah, he got him good, man. So with this, gave Lipinets his first loss last night. So Sergey Lipinets took his first L. He goes to 13-1. Mikey Garcia, now the IBF World Super Lightweight Champ, remains undefeated at 39-0. But to me, that was not the fight of the night. The fight of the night, which was an absolute war, was the fight that took place on ESPN Boxing last night, which was Scott Quigg going up against Oscar Valdez for his WBO Featherweight Championship. That fight, absolutely, in my opinion, put in its bid up until this point. I mean, it's only March, so we're 3 months in. But it definitely put in its bid for fight of the year so far, at least in boxing. I know at least at the end of the year, I always try to do a list for my favorite and or top fights. I do 3. 1 for boxing, I do 1 for MMA, and then I combine them both together to do my, like, I guess, fights, all-time fights for the year, period. So as of right now, this fight has my bid for fight of the year so far in boxing, because it was awesome. Quigg got his nose broke. Valdez got one of his front teeth knocked out. Listen, when I'm telling you that this, for those of you, I'm going to, of course, attempt to put the clips that I can find from this fight on the website and on the Facebook page, maybe even the Instagram page and the YouTube channel as well, because we are live on YouTube now. What's up, YouTube fam? Yeah. That was crazy, man. But he did. The defending champ, Valdez, won the decision last night. I agree with the decision. 2 judges in favor of Valdez with 117, 111. The 3rd judge in favor of Valdez, 118, 110. I clearly and totally agree with that. With me, I feel like that Valdez did a little bit more to win the decision. Even if it would have been a split decision, I could have seen how that would have panned out, and I would have agreed with it as well. Because I did feel like Valdez did a little bit more. And again, just like the Mikey Garcia fight, this was a case of the smaller fighter doing more to win the fight. Because Scott Quigg being the bigger guy. Even with this case, more so of Scott Quigg being the bigger guy, because he had issues with the weight cut. So if he would have won, I don't think that he would have had the opportunity to acquire the title because of the weight issues and him not being able to make weight at the last minute. But nevertheless, awesome performance last night by both of these fighters, with Valdez able to come out retaining his belt by unanimous decision. Valdez broke Scott Quigg's nose. Scott Quigg knocked out 2 of Valdez's front teeth. This was an absolute battle. But it was definitely worth the viewing last night. But again, because this was a fight that almost didn't happen because of the weight issues on Scott Quigg's behalf. Scott Quigg did not make the 126-pound featherweight weight limit at the weigh-in. And at Friday night's weigh-in before the fight yesterday, he was stuck at 128.8 pounds. And I guess, they were giving him opportunity to try to cut off the weight at the last minute. Whatever he needed to do, trash bag, sauna, cardio, sweating it out, trying to get rid of the liquid and the water retention. All the, if you're watching, I know you know all about that. But yeah, the weight cut is a son of a, oh man, I'm trying to tell you. I'm so glad those days are over. But yeah, but that Friday night, he had to make the 126-pound weight limit. He was stuck at 128.8, and because of he was prohibited by the state rules to even attempt to shed any more weight, so he had to stop. He was stuck at 128, which cut him off from attempting to make the weight limit at 126. But yeah, they beat the hell out of each other last night. Even with Valdez getting his two of his front teeth knocked out, he was leaking a lot, like out of his mouth, man, during the fight, to the point where he had to spit his mouthpiece out a couple times. It was a brutal fight, man. So you had Valdez breaking Scott Quigg's nose. You had Scott Quigg knocking out two of Valdez's front teeth. Valdez is leaking from the mouth. Quigg got cut over his left eye in the 6th round. That was a nasty cut that he received last night, which he couldn't see out of his eye, his left eye, for a bit. And Valdez knew it too, because he started focusing on that eye from the 6th round on, and it paid off. But just as far as the contest in general, Valdez was just too fast for him. You can see it throughout the contest. From the 1st round on, the speed made a significant difference last night in the fight. Valdez, he was just too fast. His hand speed, his foot speed, his overall movement in the ring, he was just too fast. And Quigg couldn't deal with it. Couldn't deal with Valdez's speed. It made a significant difference in the outcome of the fight. Very much so. The combinations, unloading the multiple combinations, multiple series of jabs that at certain times and points in the fight, it didn't seem like Quigg had an answer for. And yeah, he paid the price for it, man. Man, it was a really awesome fight. It was definitely a treat. I'm going to see, excuse me, if I can at least put some of the clips from that fight, because of how awesome a fight it was, from that fight on the various social media outlets, the Facebook page, the Instagram page, the YouTube page. Of course, it does not allow me to put the video clips on the podcast for obvious reasons. But yes, it was definitely an awesome fight. Lots of action. You know what? There was a time in the fight, I want to say in the 5th, where was that? In the 5th round, where it seemed like that he did have Valdez hurt, and maybe he wasn't able to capitalize on the opportunity when he hit Valdez with that left hook. He was a nasty left hook that he caught Valdez with, and Valdez was definitely hurt. He was dazed a little bit. And it maybe either, let me not say, either he wasn't able to capitalize on the opportunity, or because of how fast, and maybe he wasn't as hurt as or people thought he was, Valdez did not allow him to capitalize on the opportunity. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to go back and look at that. But he clearly was shook by that left hook. Valdez was. He was able to overcome, with Valdez winning the fight by unanimous decision. Great fight last night. Just looking at the overall volume of punches, man. Looking at my notes here, you had just the volume of shots in contrast to the percentage of how many times they connected. Looking at the numbers, in my opinion, I wouldn't say it didn't look good, but to actually see the fight and you watched it live, your eyes would make you think otherwise. Valdez threw 912 shots, connected on 237 of those. So he threw 912, connected on 237. That's roughly 26%. Quigg was a little less as far as the percentage is concerned. He threw 595. He landed 143. That's roughly 24%. But because, and I'm assuming, let me not assume, it's obvious that Quigg was the bigger fighter. Trying to slow down Valdez maybe. Most of Quigg's shots were power punches, power shots. And one of the reasons that Valdez's punch volume was, and his accuracy was a little higher, Quigg being the bigger guy trying to close off the ring, he was always standing in front of Valdez, trying to put the pressure on Valdez to slow him down. But Valdez is so fast last night, it was to no avail. It seemed to me that Quigg was able to work the jab, but it just didn't have the effect that he desired. It just seemed like maybe if he threw more jabs following up with it. I don't know, man. Because and I'm just saying that because he had the height advantage, he had the reach advantage, he had a bit of a size advantage. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe he knew something I didn't know, or, which was a deciding factor in his game plan. But this is me speaking from the outside looking in. I don't know, but it was an awesome, awesome fight. As up to this point, as of right now, this has my vote for Boxing Fight of the Year so far. Again, we're only 3 months in, but we will see. So we'll get into a bit of news in the world of boxing and MMA. But before I do that, I want to give a quick shout out to one of my sponsors, the Lewis Financial Group with Russell G. Lewis. He is an authorized agent with Progressive Insurance, and this is an agency with the honesty and integrity that comes with a handshake. They represent a plethora of insurance carriers and financial services companies, including Progressive, as well as other carriers such as Foremost, Hagerty, American Collectors, Aetna, Assurant, Bankers Group, Universal Property and Casualty, Selective Flood, Ameriplan, Legal Shield, Transamerica, Nationwide, Victoria, College Funding Solutions, Alliance, Access Insurance, and much, much more. You can, excuse me, they're licensed in multiple states, including here in Maryland, in Delaware, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Arizona, Missouri, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and Texas, so that they can give you the help you need across the USA. You get the best of these major carriers and their expertise in representing them. You can see more of what they do by visiting them online at www.lewisfinancialgroup.net. I always laugh when I get tongue-tied. So yeah, check them out. Go visit them online, www.lewisfinancialgroup.net, or you can call them up and get a quote, 443-622-0561, and speak to an agent Monday through Friday between 8:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. And they're also available on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Once again, this is the Lewis Financial Group with Russell G. Lewis, www.lewisfinancialgroup.net, or call them up and get a quote, speak to an agent, 443-622-0561. Awesome, awesome service. I've used them before. Check them out. I promise you, give you my word, you will not be disappointed. All right, so back to the world of MMA and boxing and where's my coffee? Contact Sports. Tell me what you guys think, man. Keep the comments coming in Facebook land. Keep them coming on Instagram land. Call in 646-668-2487 and check us out. Let us know what you think. Well, now, we're talking about going over some news in the world of MMA and in boxing. So, one of the things that we wanted to discuss was the upcoming bout, or the rematch rather, for Saul Canelo Alvarez and Triple G Gennady Golovkin. So since both of these guys are training for their upcoming rematch, of course there's a certain level of testing and regulations that come with them preparing for this fight. So for obvious reasons, both men were tested, and it appears that Saul Canelo Alvarez has apparently tested positive for a banned substance. He tested positive for the banned substance clenbuterol, which is a PED, a performance-enhancing drug, which is banned in the realm of combat sports, which means no boxers, no MMA fighters, and most professional athletes in general are not allowed to use these performance-enhancing drugs. But the excuse, and most of the reports that I've seen, appears that this excuse is legitimate. The performance-enhancing substance that was found in his blood and or urine, or both, sample, seems to be being blamed on tainted meat. it appears that not only with Saul Canelo Alvarez, this tainted meat issue is an ongoing problem in the land of Mexico. Canelo Alvarez getting ready for this rematch with Triple G Gennady Golovkin. Won't get tongue-tied that time. On Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, a few days before my wedding day. Yes, I'm getting married, guys. They're doing the testing for the fight, and he came back dirty. He's training for his rematch in his hometown. Saul Canelo Alvarez is training in his hometown of Guadalajara, Mexico, and he provided the urine samples on February 17th and on February 20th. And both of the tests that he provided with the urine sample, they both came back positive for trace amounts of clenbuterol. This is a report that came out that I acquired my notes from on ESPN, and I think some of these notes came from the website Bad Left Hook. My man, Uncle Charlie, Charles Ross. Good. Make sure you RSVP too, bro. I better see you there. Uncle Charlie. Man. See, and the thing with this, the PED testing for the guys that are training in Mexico and a lot of Mexican fighters, and for those of you, I'm sure for those of you who follow combat sports, Mexico has a very vast, very rich, very positive and honorable and successful history in the world of not only combat sports, which is the sport that they shine in. I mean, let's be honest here, the Mexican community shines and is very successful in combat sports. Boxing, MMA, kickboxing, in sports in general. But the reality is that they are a community, the Mexican community, nationality, is a community that is very successful in the realm of combat sports. And a lot of them like to train, a lot of Mexicans like to train in their hometown. And we have Saul Canelo Alvarez here training in his hometown of Guadalajara. So now it seems that it is an ongoing issue with fighters who are training in Mexico coming up dirty, a test are coming back dirty for trace amounts of clenbuterol because of the tainted meat. It's shown up in a lot of drug tests for Mexican athletes in general because of the meat contamination issue they've had, which has apparently been countrywide. YouTube fam, y'all make sure y'all checking this out. What's up? Apparently this meat contamination, Saul Canelo Alvarez is not the only fighter who this meat contamination has apparently caused a problem for. Again, this apparently has been an ongoing thing. And they put out a statement through his promoter. Oh, his promoter was his Triple G's promoter, Tom Loeffler. Okay. It said that as a part of the voluntary testing program that Saul Canelo Alvarez insisted on he go ahead with previous to his May 5th fight, one of his results came back positive for trace levels of clenbuterol, which is the PED substance. The test is consistent with meat contamination that has impacted dozens of athletes in Mexico over the past years. And which was put out by his promoter, by Canelo Alvarez's promoter and Golden Boy Promotions. So it appears that he's been telling the truth. There has been an ongoing problem and or situation with Mexican athletes coming up positive for the performance-enhancing drugs because of the tainted meat down there in Mexico. And it said that the values that the test came back positive with are all within the range of what was expected from meat contamination. So when they tested the Saul Canelo Alvarez, the testing levels that they saw, the levels of the PED that they saw, didn't match the levels of someone who was abusing a PED. It matched the levels of the testing and previous tests that they took for fighters who came back positive from eating the tainted meat. And I guess it matched up with the levels of clenbuterol that they found in said tainted meat. So it seems that there won't be any issue with talks about him abusing a PED or trying to fight dirty. You know, I don't know how long that he'll have or the process at which that it will take for the level, because they're saying it was just a trace amount, for it to get out of his system before the fight. And I'm hoping that, you know, I don't want to see no draw this time around. That draw, I don't know. But this fight is taking place the rematch will happen on May the 5th. I don't know, man. Like, if it were to go if the fight or the results thereof were to sway in the way of Canelo Alvarez this time, I don't want either fighter, whether it be Triple G or Canelo Alvarez or the fans or the promotion or anything of that sort, to be able to, this is just me speaking as a fan, to be able to use that as an excuse as far as the trace amount of the PED in the tainted meat. I mean, it's just a touchy one, man. But it doesn't appear that there will be any type of penalty or repercussions or type of punishment, because the studies and the research and the investigation so far up to this point has shown that Canelo Alvarez and his camp have been telling the truth about the tainted meat situation, because there's a history that goes along with it, with not only Canelo Alvarez and the Mexican fighters, but just the Mexican athletes in general. So so far, it adds up. It's adding up. His story is adding up. It's just crazy that you hear that, though, man. But they said the Nevada State Athletic Commission, the NSAC, their executive director, Bob Bennett, saying that the current plan is to continue to test Mr. Alvarez so that the NSAC can make a final determination, and Mr. Alvarez has the right to promptly request analysis of the B samples at his expense. Now, another thing that I don't want them to be able to say is that he's purposely going down there to eat the tainted meat repeatedly so he can get or gain some type of event. That's bull, man. I don't think that would be the case, because looking at the way the fight turned out last time, neither one of the fighters came back dirty, and they were. It seemed to me that they were, in my opinion, pretty evenly matched. Even though I do feel as though that, and some people ain't gonna agree, this is my opinion, that Triple G did win that fight by, if not unanimous, maybe a split decision. Just my opinion. Nevertheless, and of course we know that the one judge, what's her name, Judge Bird, Adele, whatever name, Judge Bird. We all know that she won't be there this time as well. That madness that she pulled last time. And Triple G said that he was aware of the positive test, but he's not gonna. He said that he don't want to jump to conclusions. He wants to hear more from the NSAC and more from the results of, I guess, of a B sample and the investigation before he makes an assessment or jumps to a conclusion. I don't think he wants to, try to cancel the fight or anything like that. I don't think either one of them wants to do that. And of course, us, the fans, we don't want that to happen. But nevertheless, we're here. We'll see how they move forward with this. We'll see how the NSAC moves forward with this. We'll see how the WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, moves forward with this, because these are the governing bodies that rule over situations like this, and ultimately the decision is theirs. I don't see any cause for alarm at this point, but that does not mean that won't change. So we will have to wait and see. Alvarez said he was a little, even though he doesn't think that it was his fault, he is a little embarrassed by it. There was in a statement that he put out, he said that he is an athlete who respects the sport, and this surprises me and bothers me because it has never happened to me. He will submit to all tests that require him to clarify this embarrassing situation, and he trusts that at the end the truth will prevail. That was a statement that Canelo Alvarez put out via his promotions, Golden Boy his company that he fights under, Golden Boy Promotions. via the president, Eric Gomez. And this is the first time that this has ever happened, to my knowledge, with Canelo Alvarez. So I don't think that, you know, him being dirty or coming back dirty or fighting dirty should be an issue. I mean, you know, like tainted meat though, like really. I mean, you can't really get mad at him for wanting to train in his hometown. I mean, he's from Mexico, so he wants to go to Guadalajara and train. But I mean, but the flip side of that is, as a fighter, with you being aware of, because they already said that this is not a first time thing. There's a history of the whole tainted meat thing, man. My man Fred, which fight you talking about? We were talking about the you know, the Triple G and Canelo Alvarez rematch is happening on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. So, you know, since they already scheduled the rematch, they done started testing the fighters, you know, prior to the fight. So what happened was, Canelo Alvarez went back home down in Guadalajara, Mexico, to train for the fight, and he got tested down there. He came back dirty for one of them performance enhancement drugs, clenbuterol. But the issue was, they got tainted meat down there that has clenbuterol in it down in Mexico. And the proof of that is, he's not the only fighter that came back testing positive for the PED inside of the tainted meat. Canelo won last time, right? Nah, they called it a draw last time. But the whole controversy behind the draw, I thought, in my opinion, Fred, honestly, I thought that Triple G won maybe at least by split decision. I thought that he did a little bit more to get the decision. But they called it a draw. A lot of people think that, you know, they wanted to, because this was such a big money fight, they made it a draw so they could reschedule this rematch that they're doing again this time. But the crazy part about it was, two judges had the score. You know, it wasn't a whole bunch of shenanigans taking place with their score. But this one judge named Bird, she had it like way lopsided in Canelo's favor, which was like crazy. She had to score like 118 or 110. So it was a lot of controversy that came behind the decision for that judge and this draw. So they scheduled the rematch for May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. So they're testing the fighters for the rematch now. Canelo's piss test came back dirty for the clenbuterol, which is the PED, but they blamed it on the tainted meat. And after they did the investigation and the research and the testing, it came back that it found out, oh, he was telling the truth. The meat down there is jacked up with the stuff in it. So she saved Canelo. And to make a long story short, yeah, she kind of did because of her crazy draw. But they banned her from judging any type of championship fights of that caliber. I don't know if they're going to stop her from doing it from now on, but she won't be judging this fight. In my opinion, I would say that, yeah, she kind of saved him. Oh, he on roids. Well, see, that's the thing. They saying, first they was just saying, yo, he got roids up in him. But he said, no, it's not the roids, it's the meat. And when they tested the meat, it came back, they found out he was telling the truth. Because he wasn't the only athlete down in Mexico that came back with the dirty meat, with the steroid in it. Or as they said, clenbuterol. So he was like, no, you got to test the meat and test the other fighters too. So they did the research, they did the investigation, came back, he wasn't juicing up. It was the meat that he was eating. So now they got to wait, I guess, to, you know, the boys down in Nevada, the Nevada State Athletic Commission is going to have a hearing about the dirty meat and him coming back dirty in the piss test. So that's what we're waiting on now. But as it stands right now, it doesn't look like he's going to receive no type of punishment because they're saying it was just like a trace amount. But ultimately, the decision is up to them. It's up to them boys down in Nevada. The Nevada State Athletic Commission. I keep getting tongue-tied. I need my coffee. But basically, that's what happened. I mean, and I don't think that, I mean, you can only go by what you have. And I don't think that Canelo was like a dirty fighter, like he would straight up juice up like that. He doesn't have a history of that. But again, you know, it's the first time for everything. But apparently he had a legitimate gripe, man. So we're waiting. We're gonna find out. We're gonna wait and see. But yeah, they're gonna get it on unless something changes with the decision that these boys down in Nevada gonna make. They scheduled to do the rematch on the Cinco de Mayo, May 5th. So I'm waiting for that. But I do, man. I honestly think that Triple G edged them out a little bit last time. It was a dope fight. The fight was awesome. Don't get me wrong. And I'm a Canelo fan. I'm a Triple G fan too. I love both of these dudes as fighters. But I got to be honest in saying, in my opinion, I thought that Triple G won by a little bit. At least I would have gave him, in my opinion, the split decision. I had him winning, excuse me, 7 rounds to 5, in my opinion. But that was just me. But yeah, we'll see. We will see. So that was that's what's up. We'll wait and see if they're going to make any type of change to that rematch for Canelo and Triple G. We were just talking about Canelo coming back dirty in the piss test, but it wasn't because he was juicing. Apparently, it was because he was eating the dirty meat tainted with clenbuterol. Did I say it right? Clenbuterol? How do you pronounce that? Give me 1 second. Oh, man. I just had him a note. I don't want to say it wrong. Came back with clenbuterol. That was the PED that was in the meat he's eating down in Guadalajara, Mexico. But yeah, I don't think Canelo would do that. But we're going to find out. We'll see what's going to happen with this fight. But yeah, the hands is in the decision of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. I don't see them handing out any type of penalties. At least if they do, not to the point where they will cancel and or stop the fight. At least I hope not. I hope not. But we'll see. We'll find out. Now, in the world of MMA, my man GSP is talking about when his possible return might be. So he made an announcement about that the other day. So before I get into that, I want to give a quick shout out one of my sponsors. Another one of my sponsors, Primal Elite Personal Training. If you are looking for a personal trainer and or coach, whether that be in weight loss, bodybuilding, powerlifting, high intensity training, boot camp training, and more, Primal Elite is the personal training service where all of that can happen for you, with sessions ranging from basic training to advanced training. Contact certified personal trainer Mike Rose at 443-979-2894, or you can check out his Instagram page at Wolfmanix. That's WOLMANXIX, Wolfmanix. Or go check his Facebook page out and like Primal Elite. Tell him that Combat Conversations sent you, and the first 5 people to sign up today get 3 sessions with free meal planning included. Again, contact certified personal trainer Mike Rose, 443-979-2894, or you can check out his Instagram page at Wolfmanix, WOLMANXIX, or check his Facebook page out at Primal Elite. Tell them Combat Conversations sent you. First 5 people that sign up today get 3 sessions with free meal prep included. Check them out. My man Mike Rose. All right, so now GSP is talking about his return. Of course, you know he had the awesome comeback win against Michael Bisping where he won. Oh, I don't know. For those of y'all who don't know, we on YouTube Live now too. So we got the blog podcast. We on Facebook Live. We on Instagram Live. And we're on YouTube Live as well. Check us out. Combat Conversation. But, yeah, back to GSP. He had that awesome comeback win against Michael Bisping, winning the UFC Middleweight Championship in December, which was an awesome fight. Shortly after that fight, he fell ill with ulcerative colitis, which is a very, very serious illness dealing with the digestive tract. I'm not sure of the specifics of that illness. I'd have to look it up and how it affects the body. I do know it deals with your digestive tract and how your digestive tract actually digests the food and the complications thereof. That I do know. So I know that ulcerative colitis is a serious illness. And he was diagnosed with that, GSP was, shortly after him winning the middleweight championship against Michael Bisping at UFC 217. So because of that, he had to forfeit the belt because him being the awesome champion that he was, he did not feel it was fair or appropriate to hold up the middleweight division and its belt with him being out due to being diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. So, with that being said, and while we talk about these notes, let me look up the standings thereof of the UFC middleweight division with my man GSP. But yeah, he had to let the belt go because he didn't want to hold the belt up. But he was on the show, the MMA Hour, the other day, where he gave an update to his current situation and the health thereof. So yeah, looking at the UFC's middleweight division, you have the champ, Rob Witt, obviously. You have Yoel Romero, who is ranked #1, and you got my man Jacare Souza, the Jackal. I'm waiting to see him get a title shot, man. You got former champions Luke Rockhold and Chris Weidman, ranked 3 and 4 respectively, and then you have #5 Kevin Gastelum, with Mike Bisping dropping down to #6. And this middleweight division is kind of stacked, man. You got Derek Brunson, David Branch, Uriah Hall, my man Vic Belfort, Lyoto Machida, Thiago Santos, Brad Tavares. This middleweight division is jumping, man. So I don't know. But GSP coming back, man. Call me and tell me what you guys think, man. Post your comments on the social media outlets. Call us up, 646-668-2487. Put your comments on the YouTube channel. Put your comments on the Facebook feed. Put your comments on the Instagram feed. But yeah, GSP is talking about coming back. After getting diagnosed with colitis, had to bow out. And with him, and the thing is, he provided an update to his situation, I guess figuring out whether or not he was coming back. He said that he's not sure. Well, he doesn't see himself coming back this year with him still being on the medication to treat his ulcerative colitis. He said that most of the symptoms that comes along with that diagnosis has been resolved, but him treating the condition and the sickness has caused him to lose a significant amount of weight as a result of his recovery. So even if he does return, which will most likely be next year, I don't know if he'll be able to return at middleweight. So if he returns at welterweight, or depending on how far down he goes, lightweight. If he goes to welterweight, you got Ty Woodley as the champ. Welterweight is another division that's stacked. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Rafi Dos Anjos, Kobe Covington, Robbie Lawler, Damian Maia, Neil Magny, Carlos Condit, Cowboy Cerrone, Gunnar Nelson. So you got a stacked welterweight division, which would be the next weight class down from his previous middleweight that he just won the championship from. And there were talks, which I don't think will happen, but it was at least right now it's just talk, for him fighting Conor McGregor, which means what? Would he move down to lightweight? So then if he does go down to lightweight, you got Tony Ferg, who's the interim champ right now because we don't know what the hell's going on with Conor. You got the monster Khabib. You got Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje, Nate Diaz, who don't know what's going on with him either, Barboza. So the options for his return are a plethora right now. But right now he's focused on getting healthier in regards to the colitis. He says the recovery process has caused him to feel much healthier, dealing with this disease. He was speaking to Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour when he made the announcement. He said that fasting along with the medication has helped him deal with this a lot. He said he lost a lot of weight, but he's very, very ripped. It makes me wonder how much with things like the medication, the fasting, at least having to eat have a certain amount of energy, with him coming back, how will it affect him training for the fight, getting in shape, how will it affect him doing the weight cuts. It's so many factors involved with GSP's possible return. But he said that with him treating the colitis, man, he said he feels better, he feels healthier. And so it just made people wonder whether or not GSP would be planning to fight again. So it appears, according to what he said to Ariel, he's definitely planning on coming back, because him treating the ulcerative colitis, treating the symptoms, made him, he said he's felt better than he's felt in quite some time, which leads me to believe that the symptoms aren't affecting him, at least not to the point where it feels as though he has to end his career. But tell me what you guys think, man. Let me know what you guys think. Call up 646-668-2487. Post your comments on the YouTube live feed. Post your comments on the Facebook live feed. Post your comments on the Instagram live feed. And this is me speaking because I'm a huge GSP fan, man. I'm a big GSP fan. But and I'm anxious to see him come back. You know, obviously, I don't want to see him come back if he's not at least 100%, or to the point where his illness will affect him and put him in any type of danger in the octagon. And GSP is too smart for that. He's too smart to go into the octagon and put himself in any type of physical or health type danger if he doesn't feel as though that his body can take it, especially dealing with an illness as serious as ulcerative colitis. I'm just, you know, it makes me wonder with the previous comeback that he had, and he jumped right into a title shot going up against Michael Bisping. So I guess depending on his health or how he feels, would he want to do that again with whichever weight class, due to the weight loss, whichever weight class he decides to come back to, whether it be welterweight, would he go straight to Ty Woodley? If he comes back to lightweight, would he go straight to either Tony Ferg or a super fight with Conor? Or maybe even if Khabib or Alvarez has the belt at that time. No, he's planning on coming back maybe sometime next year. So there are quite a few things that can happen as far as titles changing hands between now and next year. There's just so many factors involved in an additional return concerning GSP. I'm just anxious to know that my man's is all right, man. He's thinking about getting back in the octagon, man. I'm a big GSP fan, like, for real. So I'm glad to see that, man. But he knows he can't fight now, but he's definitely anxious to get back in there. Since we're talking about MMA fighters coming back, this dude right here, Mirko Cro Cop, man, he the long-time UFC vet, has apparently signed with Bellator MMA. So he hopped the fence. He left the UFC. And it's coming off of, the thing is, you know, with him signing with Bellator, coming off of a 2.5-year layoff. And a lot of that layoff had to do with him being suspended for PED use, man. And, you know, and he said because of his suspension and him being off for 2 years, he was going to retire. But apparently he's had to change his mind, and he's decided to come out of retirement and sign with Bellator MMA. So, I mean, you have to wonder, like, did he really leave? I don't know. Like, he got suspended for 2 years for being a repeat offender of violating UFC's anti-doping policy, which is governed by the USADA, the United States Anti-Doping Agency. And this is where stuff gets a little tricky. Monday, Bellator said that Cro Cop was going to debut with them in a rematch with Big Country Nelson at Bellator 200. You know, Big Country just lost his bout against, what was that? Was that Mitrione? Who did he lose to? He was just in the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix tournament. Big Country was. He lost his bout. So now he's getting another bout scheduled at UFC 200 in London in May, the 25th, 2 days before my birthday. Right. And he's apparently going to fight Big Country Nelson. Cro Cop is. But the thing is, he comes back and he signs with Bellator. See, he got banned for the PED use from the UFC. Back in November 2015, he retired just before he admitted to using the human growth hormone, right before a UFC bout against Anthony Hamilton. So when he got busted for using the HGH, the USADA slapped the hammer down with a 2-year suspension because he's a repeat offender. He was the first fighter to get busted in that manner under the UFC's new anti-doping program. And because of that, he got kicked out of the UFC. See, now, once he was cut from the UFC's contract, he went over to Japan to fight in Rizin. And that was less than a year after that. And see, the thing with that is, he said that he wanted to retire because of what happened with his banning and his suspension in the UFC. But, I mean, looking at it through, I guess, means of, what's the word I want to use here? I guess his activity? Did he really retire? I mean, was that just a cop-out because he got hammered with the suspension under the UFC's rules? Because if you look at it, technically, he never sat out the 2 years of his suspension. He gets suspended. He jumps ship from the UFC, or they say they released it, cut his contract. He gets suspended. He goes over to Japan to fight. He comes back here 2 years later, and now he gets signed with Bellator. So, I mean, I don't know. Technically, is that really a suspension? But nevertheless, he will fight at Bellator's 200 event in London. He will be tested, obviously. But yeah, he's back. I'm just trying to figure. Is this a good look for Bellator? I mean, Bellator has been, as of late, putting on quite a few good cards. But Bellator also has a history of signing. Let me not say. How can I word this? A lot of fighters that leave UFC, they go over to the other major MMA promotion, which is Bellator. Now, whatever the reason being that they leave UFC, whether it's they get cut, their contract expires, Bellator offers them more money. There are various reasons why a fighter can leave the UFC and go over to Bellator, and vice versa. They can leave Bellator and go over to UFC. Be that as it may, Cro Cop, being the former UFC veteran that he is, will be fighting in Bellator's 200 in London against Big Country. I'm sure there will be a lot of testing involved. But yeah, I don't know what, I mean, technically it doesn't seem as if he actually served the suspension time to me. That's neither here nor there now, because he'll be scrapping unless something changes, maybe even in regards to testing for this fight. He will be fighting in May at Bellator. So before we roll out, we're going to go over 2 fight cards we'll have coming up this Saturday on the 17th. But before I do that, I got another sponsor I want to shout out, which is Be More Customs, where you can get quality custom shirts and hoodies, also customized soaps, lotions, body wash, body scrubs, body butters, perfume and cologne, sprays, and more with all of your favorite fragrances. Go over to their Facebook page and like them right now. Well, as soon as the show's over. Go check them out on Facebook and hit like on their page. I promise you, you won't regret it, man. They got some awesome stuff over there. If you tell them Combat Conversation sent you, you and all Combat Conversation listeners that like and follow Be More Customs will receive a 20% discount on your first order and a minimum 10% discount on future orders. Again, go over to Be More Customs Facebook page and like them. Check their Instagram page out too as well. But yeah, go and like their Facebook page and tell them Combat Conversation sent you. When you do, you will receive 20% discount off your first order and a minimum 10% discount on all future orders. Go check them out. They're highly recommended. If you're looking for something in particular, I highly recommend the peppermint soap. It's pretty dope. Yeah, so we're going to take a real quick look at 2 fight cards we have next week on the 17th, that Saturday. This is a UFC fight night, so it's overseas. I think this is in Europe. So it'll be taking place on this side of the globe at around 5 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you get your time zones right. So over here in the States, at least on our side of the town, it'll be happening 5 p.m. in the afternoon. So stay tuned. But that will be happening on Saturday the 17th. You got Fabricio Werdum, who is ranked number 3. He will be going up against Alexander Volkov, who is ranked number 8. Now, for this to be a heavyweight bout, looking at the rankings right now, you got Stipe, who is killing the game. You got Francis Ngannou, who's still ranked at number 1. Overeem, who Ngannou gave the business to. I can't wait for my man Kane to come back, who's ranked number 4. I don't know. Cain Velasquez. I'm not sure what happened to Junior Dos Santos. You got Derek Lewis. You got Mark Hunt. The heavyweight division is looking pretty good. And Alexander Volkov is ranked number 8. My man Fabricio is ranked number 3. Now, I'm assuming that Fabricio is looking to get this belt back. But remember, in July, Stipe is fighting light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier in the super fight. So I'm not sure which way that fight is going to go. It's going to be the catchweight bout, but for Stipe's belt. Daniel's belt is not on the line. It's for Stipe's belt. At least I think that's how it's going. Nevertheless, there are quite a few things that can happen here. But listen, Fabricio is a GOAT. And he goes on an all-time GOAT list as far as MMA fighters. At the end of the day, Werdum is going to be a MMA Hall of Famer. He's going in the MMA Hall of Fame, probably a first ballot guy, if they even have that ballot process. Not sure how that works. I'm going to find out. But yeah, he's definitely regarded as one of the greatest heavyweight fighters of all time. He was the first guy to decisively defeat Fedor Emelianenko. He's beat some of the best out there. He beat Cain Velasquez. He's beat Overeem. He's beat Nogueira. He's beat Hunt. He's beat Travis Brown. He's beat Emelianenko. He's beat Bigfoot Silva. He's beat Big Country Nelson. I mean, we can go all day talking about Fabricio Werdum's resume. He's 40 years old. So time is not his friend, as I always like to say. He's won 2 in a row, though, and he's looked really good in those last 2 fights. Fabricio has. But right now, he's looking to get back. He's trying to get one last shot at a rematch with Stipe to get back the title that Stipe took from him back in May of 2016. So that's the belt that Stipe is wearing around his waist now. He got it from Fabricio. Fabricio wants it back. He's going to have to beat a really tough Alexander Volkov to do it. Volkov ain't no chump, man. I'm going to tell you straight out the bat. He is a former Bellator heavyweight tournament finalist. He's 29-6. He has a UFC record of 3-0, so he's undefeated since he's been in the UFC. He's won 5 straight. His last win was against the big, tall mountain dude, Stefan Struve, which earned him Fight of the Night honors. And even though I see Volkov at this point has been a successful attempt climbing up the heavyweight ladder, I really would like to think that this fight is more important than more important to Fabricio than it is to Alexander. With this being his last hurrah, so to speak, excuse me, Fabricio's last hurrah at an attempt to get that heavyweight title back. With his career, his resume, and his age, and what he's accomplished so far, I see this as being his last hurrah. So we'll see. The other fight on that card that I'm interested in looking at is Jimmy Manuwa, who's going up against Jan Blachowicz. Manuwa's ranked number 4. Blachowicz is ranked number, 10 or 11? I thought I had that in my notes. Let's find out. Jimmy Manuwa is, again, you're ranked number 4. Blachowicz is ranked 11. I was close. I was right the first time. Second time. Whatever. He's ranked number 11. So he'll be going up against Big Jimmy. Jimmy, I love this kid, Jimmy. He's a monster, man. When he's on top of his game. Jimmy needs this win, though. Jimmy is 17-3. He's 2-2 in his last 4 fights. His last fight was a first-round KO loss to Volkan Ozdemir back in July. That was a nasty loss for Jimmy. That loss actually surprised me. I had Jimmy winning that fight. But Jimmy needs this win to get back into the W column going up against a guy like Blachowicz, man. I'm looking for Jimmy to win this fight, too. I looked for Jimmy to win that last fight, and I was wrong, man, which surprised me. But I want to say I can see Jimmy winning this fight. He's hungry, man. He needs this W. Yeah, Blachowicz is 21-7. He's won his last 2 fights. He's a good fighter, but all of his losses were against significant top-tier opponents, including Jimmy. This is a rematch for them. Speaking of which, I'm sure he would like to avenge the loss he suffered to Jimmy back by UD back in April of 2015. So this card looks pretty good. These 2 fights in particular, I'm looking forward to seeing on this card. So we'll be talking about this card that Sunday morning on the 18th. We will also be talking about another fight that Saturday night on the 17th on ESPN. ESPN been stepping their boxing game up pretty decently lately, man. I'm impressed. Amir Imam will be fighting Jose Carlos Ramirez on Saturday night on ESPN for the vacant WBC World Super Lightweight title. Imam is 21-1. He's won 3 straight since his loss to Adrian Granados back in November of 2015. And he will be going up against an undefeated Ramirez Saturday night, who is 21-0. Now, Ramirez, he doesn't have much of a professional resume. His professional resume is very limited, but his amateur resume speaks for itself. When I say limited, I mean he's 21-0. But he hasn't really fought anyone notable. But his resume is impressive nevertheless. He won the 2010 U.S. National Champion at lightweight at the Olympics Training Center. That's over in Colorado. He's a Junior Golden Gloves National Champion, 2-time Junior Olympic National Champion, and a 2-time Ringside World Champion. So this kid is not to be played with. So they will be fighting for the WBC World Super Lightweight title Saturday night on ESPN. That's Amir Imam and Jose Carlos Ramirez. So stay tuned for that. We will be talking about those fights Sunday morning, 10 a.m., Combat Conversation on the Blog Talk podcast. Make sure you turn in. Make sure you turn into the YouTube channel because we're live on YouTube now. Make sure you turn into the Facebook Live. Make sure you turn into the Instagram Live. Love y'all, man. Appreciate the love. So until next time, talk to you later, family.